Ambassador Samadali, we really thank you for giving us this interview on Afro News, and welcome to The Point.
Thank you very much. I also would like to thank you and Afro News to providing this opportunity.
Great. Because of this geographic, of course, proximity to one another between Ethiopia and Iran, and mostly with Iran's relationship with Africa, and let's talk about what those countries have done to improve their connection.
First of all, I should admit that our bilateral relation goes back to more than 2,500 years ago. Then we enjoy a long-standing historical relation between two countries, which is an asset for our current relation. Apart from that, of course, during last 7 decades of our diplomatic presence here in Addis Ababa and establishment of our embassy, and our continuous work here in Addis Ababa, we managed to sign a couple of agreements and memorandum of understanding for cooperation in different and various fields and opportunities. Apart from that, of course, there is lots of other undisclosed opportunities, new opportunities which we can work on that and cooperate on that. But for sure, to promote bilateral relation, especially an already existing historical bilateral relation, first of all, the first prerequisite is the political will. Because without the political will, nothing can be done. Then with political will from both sides, of course, we can promote, we can boost our bilateral relation in not only the previous fields which we have already cooperation, but also in new opportunities and new field as well. You know that despite some pressures, some international and Western pressures on Iran, but we managed to gain many important achievements.
Can we mention some of the achievements we have, mostly Iran in Africa and specifically with Ethiopia?
Yeah, in our bilateral relation.
Especially,
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, with Africa, especially with Ethiopia, we have more than 20 different type of agreement in agriculture, cultural cooperation, economic cooperation, education, scientific cooperation, industrial cooperation, trade and commerce cooperation. These are the issues and also the fields which we had, and we have a good cooperation. But as I said, there is lots of and many of undisclosed opportunities, especially taking account that with the recent achievement and progress Iran made in very sophisticated areas such as high-tech,
right,
biotechnology, nanotechnology, cyber science, spatial science, medicine, industry, in all that, the existing MOUs and agreement between Iran and Ethiopia mostly are the old one. In some cases, we need, based on that legal basis, which is already exists, to boost our bilateral relation. In some cases, we need to amend the already signed agreement and MOUs, and in some new cases also, we need new drafting text to provide and to make a new framework for the new sort of cooperation in new areas. In all that, we as Iran, we are completely ready to cooperate with Ethiopia and also with whole Africa. But as I said, the political will is the first prerequisite for that. I can suggest that to show this political will, we can resume our joint ministerial economic commission,
right,
which the last one was held, I think, 15 years ago. The last one,
right,
which was the sixth round of this commission, held in 2006 or 7, and from then, since it is not reestablished again. Then That could be one of the ways to resume our and also to go further in our bilateral relation, especially with the commerce and economic ties.
Right.
Another suggestion could be to establish a political consultation committee, which is common framework and legal base for consultation between two countries, especially through the political and diplomatic channel, through the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Of course, the ways to strengthen and promote our bilateral relation, which is a friendly relation, is possible through the increase of exchange of delegations, exchange of mutual visits, meetings, and exchange of views and experiences in many mutually interested areas. That are the ways and the strategies to increase our bilateral relation in both already existing fields and also in new arising fields.
Mr. Ambassador, Iran has been through a lot, especially when we come to the relations with the Western one. Mostly the Westerns want to do something on Iran, and Iran has been, of course, defying all these pressures. And how did it manage mostly going through this challenge? And how is that possible? And if there's any lesson for African countries to take a
That is a very good question. That is a very good question, and I was waiting for that. You know, let me again to repeat that after the victory of the Islamic Revolution in Iran,
Right.
during last 4 decades, we were subject to a very high pressure, sanctions, restriction by United States and its Western allies. But despite all that pressures, it was in different sort. An unwanted imposed war, supporting the separatists, supporting the terrorist group, sabotage in Iranian internal affairs, intervention in Iranian affairs. Despite all that, very, very heavy economic sanction and restriction. Despite all that, really we made an amazing, important work with many achievements, as I mentioned before. For example, in nano, in bio, in cyber, we are among top 10 in the world. Just remember the COVID, which is a recent pandemic. Regarding to the COVID, only few countries managed to produce vaccine against COVID. And Iran was one of those few countries. We produce our own domestic vaccine for our use. You see the level of the achievement and progress despite all that pressures and restriction. But your question was how? Yeah. How it's happened. That is the main part of the question. And of course, let me admit that there is lots of reason. There is many reason and also some secrets which cannot be disclosed in a public interview. And we are ready from our side to share our experience, knowledge, and of course with the friendly, independent countries such as Ethiopia and many of African countries. But what I can refer to that, I can mention some of those reasons. First of all, one should take in account our historical background. Iran is a big, important country. We have 7,000 of existence and historical background, civilizational background, rich culture. Iran has not only 7,000 of civilized history, but also 2,500 years of ruling experience only. Remember the Persian Empire.
Right.
Then, one category of the reasons go back to that historical background and the richness in culture and civilization and ruling experience. That is one of the main reasons to achieve all this achievement, in fact, and progress. Second, look at our geographical position and location in the Middle East. We are in the heart of the international north, south, and west-east corridors. We are located in a very important strategical location, and we have almost 15 neighbors in land and seas, which is a good opportunity for us to overcome those pressures and restrictions and all that. Apart from that two reasons, of course, I can mention another two main reasons. One is the wise, knowledgeable, and brave leadership, which is really important role, has really important role in Iran's success and progress. And of course, beside the wise and brave leadership, the vigilant people and aware people of the country who are well aware of its history, its background, its civilization, and which support the government and support the country, then we had no way unless to stand on our own feet and rely on our own resources, human resources and natural resources, to overcome all that difficulties and not only survive but also make lots of progress and use an example for independent countries.
Right. Mr. Ambassador, mentioning, of course, this achievements all, but sometimes we easily see there were some reports mentioning of the Iran and talking about the humanitarian as well. Do you have anything to say on that one? If there is, like, the public has to know about it, of course. So anything that we have to clear regarding to the humanitarian stuff reported?
Regarding the humanitarian issues, you mean, and mostly, human rights, mostly. Yeah. That is also a good question. First of all, let's make it clear who are claiming the problem of human rights against Iran.
Right.
On top of those, proclamation is United States and its Western allies. They pretend to be the defender of the human rights, and they claim some issues in this regard against Iran, not only Iran but also any other independent countries, even here in Ethiopia. You know, first of all, let's make it clear: the United States and its Western allies are not the right person to claim the human rights and accuse the others and give lesson regarding the human right to the others. Why? Look at the history of the United States.
Right.
Even before formation of this government, this country, look at their behavior with the Indo-American. What they have done to the Indo-American even before the formation of the United States. And after that, after the formation of the state and government there, look at their behavior with the Afro-American. The slavery's history, shameful, full of shame. You see, that is their background in human rights. Later on, look at their intervention. I mean the West and Western, and also especially the American intervention in the internal affairs of every countries. All wars and conflict all around the world. There is the nose of American. There is a finger of American and Western countries. Look at their intervention under the pretext of the human right in Afghanistan, in Libya, in Iraq, in Syria, in many other countries.
Right.
What happened? You see? This is from one hand. From the other hand, look at their allies. The United States and Americans always supported the dictatorship all around the world, in Arab world, in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America. They supported every military coup. Even in Iran, they overthrew a national government by a military coup in 1953. With all that malicious action in line with the human right, how they allowed themselves to accuse Iran or Ethiopia or other countries by violation of human rights. In fact, United States is a big hill of human rights violation. They have no right to claim human rights and also to give lesson to the others regarding the human rights. Don't forget the American behavior with the prisoners in the Abu Ghraib in Iraq, even in Guantanamo prison. Even their behavior with the Mexican immigrant. They separated the children from the mothers recently, last 2-3 years. It is ridiculous and shameful if they claim human rights violation against Iran or many other independent countries. The human rights issues is a pretext to exert pressure on the other countries, especially the independent countries such as Iran and let's add Ethiopia and many others, to benefit their own profit, to benefit their own, interest. This is just, it is nothing except a political instrument. And this is the biggest violation of human rights. All that, put it apart and look at this one main issue, which is the biggest violation of human rights, which is the instrumentalization of human values such as democracy, freedom of speech, human rights, instrumentalization of the human values as a political tool. This is the biggest violation of the human right, and I invite whole world to be careful about this danger, this challenge, which is the biggest challenge regarding to the human right violation.
Great. Talking, of course, about the rights, Iranian President Ibrahim Saisi, of course, stated in late August, we have got nuclear technology and no one can ever take this right away from us. Adding this to the country, it doesn't aspire, of course, to talk about this nuclear weapon. And the Americans, of course, continued to have concerns and reservations about this situation. What's your say?
Again, first of all, what Iran president said is 100% true and correct. We have the ability, the nuclear science ability and achievement, but there is no room for nuclear weapons in our defense strategy. Our nuclear program is completely 100% peaceful. That is correct, that is right, from the one hand. And there is no room, as I said, for nuclear weapons in our defense strategy because of many reasons. One is we, as Iranian, we are victims of using mass destruction weapons by our previous neighbor, Iraqi Saddam Hussein, which imposed the war with the American incitement against Iran. And the American and Western countries, they provided the chemical weapons to Saddam Hussein to use against Iranian soldiers and also against its own people, Kurdish people in Iraqi Kurdistan. Yeah? Because of that experience and because of our belief on Islam, which is the base of our rule, our law and regulation in Iran, it is completely forbidden to use mass destruction weapons. Based on that religious belief and that experience we gained through the imposed war against us, we are completely against any type of mass destruction weapons, including the nuclear weapons.
So this nuclear weapon only will be used for peaceful purpose?
Nuclear energy,
the energy
not
one.
Nuclear weapon.
Not the weapon.
Yeah. Nuclear energy, which we are producing, and we made lots of progress in that. It is only for useful purposes. There is lots of use in agriculture, in medicine, even for, of course, energy power plant, also for research reactors. We need all that, yeah? Regarding, coming back to the concern and reservation expressed by the United States and its Western allies. Again, it's a ridiculous, shameful, and hypocritical behavior. Ask me how. I will tell you. The Americans were the only country, and first and only country, they used nuclear weapons against humanity in Japan. They are the first. Still, they keep lots of a big arsenal of sophisticated nuclear weapons. And they stockpile and renovate the nuclear weapons. This is the second one. Thirdly, right after the Islamic Revolution, we as Iran, we requested all international community, okay, this was our internal issue. We overthrew a dictatorship regime which was a puppet of United States. This is our internal issue. We overthrew that regime. We have a new regime. We would like to continue to keep working, cooperating with whole world in a peaceful manner and also based on international rules and regulation. Of course, we won't allow any other country to interfere in our domestic issues. We wanted, even United States, all Western countries and other countries, we expressed our readiness to continue our cooperation, but they stopped unilaterally the cooperation with us. Right. They withdraw from a signed agreement to establish a nuclear power plant in Iran. We had an agreement with the Germans. In the middle of the war, after Islamic Revolution, they stopped unilaterally. They withdraw from the agreement. They didn't accomplish their promises, their signature. And apart from that, they started to intervene in our internal affairs by imposing an unwanted war, which I mentioned at first, by supporting the separatist group, by inciting the sabotage in country, by supporting and providing weapons and other facility to the terrorists, to the separatists, by imposing international sanction and economic restriction against Iran. They obliged us, they pushed us, they encouraged us to stand on our own feet and to rely on our own resources and abilities and capabilities. That is why we oblige to establish our own domestic nuclear program, peaceful program. That is another reason. Thirdly or fourthly, look, we as Iran, we are member of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. All our nuclear sites are under 24 hours, 7 days, camera surveillance, hundreds of cameras. And we are under the world's broadest, the toughest, the highest inspection system by the International Atomic Energy Agency. All that are the true proof that our atomic or nuclear program is completely peaceful. And we as Iran, we accepted that high inspections and surveillance. Why? Because we were sure of us, of ourselves. We haven't, and we have no hidden program. That is why we accepted such a tough and very restricted system of inspection and surveillance. Apart from that, although there are countries in the world, they possess nuclear weapons. They are not member of the NPT. They are not under a single surveillance and inspection. Why Americans are not worried about those countries, but they are worried about Iran, which is member of the NPT, under surveillance, under inspection. Yeah? Apart from that, the last reason why their claim or their concern is ridiculous and hypocritical, because they know better than every other that our program is completely peaceful. And the last reason is that all world, big powers, they were witnessing that we, after 10 years of negotiation in our nuclear dossier program, finally Iran and United States, Western countries, China, Russia, the big powers, we managed to sign an agreement, joint cooperation plan of action, which is signed in 2015. And we as Iran started to commit our obligation under this agreement. Who withdraw unilaterally from this agreement? United States. United States, during the Trump administration, was the only country who withdraw unilaterally from the agreement signed by themselves. Then there is no room for American or Western countries' concern or reservation regarding the peacefulness of Iranian nuclear program. They know everything about that program, and still we as Iran is ready to come back to that agreement. But they create obstacles and problems to come back. That are the reason that similar to the human rights issues, they are just using the nuclear issue as a pretext, as a tool, as an instrument to exert pressure against Iran, to obey them. That is the problem. The main problem is that before Islamic Revolution there was a dictatorship, monarchy regime which was puppet of the America, but after Islamic Revolution we go back to our 2,500 years of independence as an independent country, and we wanted to use our right of sovereignty and dignity and to keep our dignity of our country and our people. That is the main reason. The human rights issues, the nuclear dossier, the freedom of speech, all that are not except the political instrument to exert pressure against Iran, to oblige us to again to go back to their satellite, to be their satellite, and to obey them, and to obey the decision taken in White House, not in Tehran. That are the reasons.
Mr. Ambassador, finally, let's go to of course, the relations mostly Iran has for thousands of years. But there's no clear reason why the other countries are not gravely working on opening embassies as Iran is doing. And why do you think that is happening, and what's the message we have for them?
First of all, there are more than 100 diplomatic representatives in Tehran.
Right.
We have diplomatic relation with all countries around the world except few.
Right.
You may know,
Yeah.
except few. This is first. Secondly, let's make it clear. I mentioned already, answering your different question, that what is the root cause of the problems between America and Iran? The obedience, which we as an independent country with 2,500 years of ruling experience, we cannot accept that. We are an independent, such as Ethiopia, which is and always been independent, and never we vote to colonialism, neither Iran nor Ethiopia. They tried every instrument to scare Iran. I said imposed war, separatism, terrorism, sanctions, restrictions. They didn't succeed.
Right.
They didn't succeed. They changed the strategy. They changed the tactic. When they noticed that they cannot scare Iran, and despite all that pressures and restrictions, we are moving forward. You know, during that imposed war 35 years ago, we were not able even to buy the shoelace for our soldiers' boot. Now we send to the orbit our domestic satellite by our own domestic missiles.
Right.
Look at the differences and distances during the last 4 decades. Then, they couldn't stop us. They couldn't scare Iran. They discouraged to scare us. They changed the policy, the tactic. They started to scare the others from Iran by Iranophobia. Iranophobia is their last instrument to scare the other countries from Iran and to prevail them working with Iran. That is the reason. I am asking through this interview that Iran is not the first victim of Iranophobia. Please pay attention.
Right.
Iran is not the first victim of Iranophobia, but the other countries, especially the Iran's friend and friendly independent countries, are the first victim of Iranophobia. We are the second one, not the first. Because with or without the cooperation, we are in our way. We are moving forward. And I gave you many reasons, many signs. Then, those who will harm from this Iranophobia is not Iran, it's the other countries which want to work with Iran, but they are scared by the American or by the some Western countries. Look at their behavior. You know, if we can cooperate with each other, there is no colonial motivation. For example, let's take as an example cooperation between Iran and Ethiopia. There is no political or colonial attempts from Ethiopia toward Iran, neither from Iran toward Ethiopia. And if we could manage to cooperate, we will cooperate on economy, on trade, on culture, on medicine, only on that field. But look at the behavior of the United States and Western countries. If they want or they decide to cooperate, even for providing the human or humanitarian aids and assistance, they put conditions. They put preconditions. If you do this or that, we can help you. If you accept this or that, we can cooperate with you. But in our cases, we have many rooms and opportunities to cooperate within the framework of the South-South cooperation, non-alignment movement, groups 77, G77, and many others framework and opportunities in regional, international arena, and in our bilateral relation, we can cooperate with many countries. Even at the moment, we have a good level of cooperation, economic cooperation, cultural cooperation, political consultation and cooperation with many countries all around the world. Even with Ethiopia, we have a very good cooperation in international arena. We support each other's candidacy, membership in international organizations, United Nations and its groups, regional bodies. We have lots of cooperation, and we as Iran, we are completely ready from our side to offer our experiences, our knowledge, our know-how without any precondition to the friendly, especially and friendly and independent countries such as Ethiopia. This is from our side. There is a political will from Iranian government, and also there is many opportunities and room for cooperation. I said, with or without, we are moving forward in our path, and we believe that our path is right path, and the Almighty is with the right path, with the right side always. And the history of last 4 decades proved us, not only us, but also proved all world that how can a country under very high pressures, restrictions, war, sanctions, how can survive and how can make lots of progress in very sophisticated area, not in ordinary daily routine life. You see, that is what my last message to whole world, and through this interview, through your channel, to the African nations and peoples and government, and to my Ethiopian friend, is that to be aware of the Iranophobia. That is the last instrument used, or let's say abused, by the United States and its some Western allies to exert pressure on Iran, and through that, when they discouraged to stop Iran, exert pressure through the Iranophobia, exert pressure to the others to keep them away from Iran. But one should be clever and aware that falling in this trap is only in the benefit of the United States and some Western allies, not in our bilateral mutual benefit and interest.
Right. Your Excellency, Ambassador of Iran to Ethiopia, it's been really a wonderful time. Ambassador Samad Ali, we really thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Desilingal.